Alana,
John Kim.
first, I want to say thank you for doing this. I applaud your courage and um, joining me in setting an example. So one of the reasons why I wanted to do this wasn't just because of the whole couldn't get it up thing. That is it is one thing I want to talk about because for men it can be something that may be a struggle, right? But the other piece is I think that when it comes to like dating and exes and all that, after the collision, we tend to want to forget, erase, and then when we have a new partner, they are jealous. Like there's this whole thing with us minimizing any kind of love experience in the past. And so I thought, like, when would I ever have an opportunity to actually have a conversation with someone who, um, I mean, it was short lived and it didn't turn into a relationship, but still, we went on a few dates and stuff.
Hmm. Yeah,
So yeah, thank you for that.
you're welcome. Happy to be here and to talk to you about this.
I also want to be respectful because I know I share this because I kind of document my story, which I've been doing, and I want to be respectful of your space, your things that you may not want to talk about, right? So,
Mhm.
um, punch me in the face or tell me to stop or do whatever you want if things feel uncomfortable for you.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'm a really transparent person. There's really not a lot that I don't enjoy or want to talk about. Um, yeah, very to the point, and I take pride in that. So don't have to worry too much about making me feel uncomfortable.
Cool. Well, I want to start with this image because I was thinking about this, and man, it's been so long. I mean, I kind of feel like it hasn't, but it has because I mean, I've been with Vanessa for 5 years, and so this was probably like 2 years before that. So, I
Mhm.
mean, was this like 7 years ago, 6 years ago?
Believe it was 2017, so about 6 years ago.
Wow.
Actually, it was January. I think it was from like end of December bleeding into March
We,
or even April a little bit.
we were just kids.
Yeah,
Well, you were just a kid. I was the creepy older guy.
I was definitely a kid.
I was a creepy older guy trying to be single on purpose. Okay. I show up at the restaurant. I drive to San Diego. I show up at the restaurant.
Yep.
I see her and I know her from Instagram, right? Because we were DMing. And I go to approach her and she sees me and she disappears. And I thought for a second, oh shit, she just ghosted. She saw me, wasn't into it, and she left. And it turns out that she was trying to enter the restaurant from the wrong entrance. And I remember you walked around the restaurant, and there was this beat where I was like left alone. Like, did she just leave? I drove 2 fucking hours, and she just saw my face and left. And then you came back. That's how it started.
Okay. Little foggy about that occurrence. But I do remember meeting you, and I remember it being calm. I
Yeah.
was pretty eager, and obviously, I'd known about you through a friend. You were super inspiring. Your words, your journal entries on Tumblr, also your appearance in the CrossFit community, and like your messages through them. I started getting into that community and got to experience your early work. And so I was pretty inspired and I was super anxious to get to know you and kind of understand your story a little bit better.
Yep.
Um,
And wow, Tumblr days. I mean, that's way back 2010. So peripherally, I think we kind of knew each other just like internet friends, right? And
yeah,
we were
I
both
knew
in
you through
relationships and
another.
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, but I mean, we crossed communities a little bit, just never met in person.
right, right. And so the first date was cool. We had dinner, and um, I think I had a beer, and I get red very fast. It
Yeah,
takes you
I
many
remember that
beers because
conversation.
your tolerance is very high because you own a brewery, or I don't know if anymore, but you did then. And um, what was it like for you? It was just I think it was just a normal kind of getting to know someone date. You came back to my Airbnb.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
played
you
some
got an
music.
Airbnb. I remember you um, arrived on your motorcycle and we played some music. You asked me what my favorite music was. I think I put on some Radiohead, and We were just kind of getting to know each other.
Was I aggressive?
No, you were pretty approachable, and
Yeah.
also you were very sensual. I think right away you wanted to like see if there was an affectionate connection.
is that
Um,
is that your polite way of saying that I was okay? So, um, yeah, I think. I mean, we didn't like have sex or anything, but I remember the first date. We were just listening to music, and it kind of felt like very kind of innocent and
mhm,
conversational and stuff. So that was good. And then you tell us what happened. So that was date one. Uh,
mhm.
Went home. We kept chatting, and then did you come to LA? I forgot what happened.
Yes. I'm not totally sure if you came.
I think I came
I know
back.
that we started. I think you came a second time, and then I went to LA. You introduced me to a gym that you were very excited about. Got to meet the people that were a part of it.
Oh, right.
We all went out to dinner.
Mhm.
Um, and that's when I kind of got to know you in your element and how you just like you were very vulnerable in the way that you thought. I could tell that your mind, like as soon as we were next to each other, I could tell your mind started to like kind of just start speeding. It was I could
Mm.
see that your wheels were turning, and I mean
In
there
in
was
in
I
what
think at
kind of
that
way?
point
What was the energy? So like my wheels were as in I was being distant, or I was being calculating and a predator. Like what do you mean by wheels turning?
no, you were. I wouldn't say that you were calculating. I think
Mm.
that you were just like kind of seeing the image of because obviously we were together and a lot of things worked between us. We
Hmm.
established a connection at that point in Los Angeles. And I could tell that you were just trying to fit me into what your life was in that moment. You
Yeah.
were, and I think I remember asking you, I was like, what are you thinking about right now? And you were like, then you kind of just went off on, well, what if you opened a brewery here? So I could kind of, you were somewhat allowing me to enter your world
Mm.
or at least open to discussing what that might look like.
You know what I think drew me to you, although you were young, you're still young. You have an old soul. Like I feel like and this is also it ripples into your taste in music, right? Like I know you're a huge music fan. You're very particular, and you're offended by bad music, and you tend to take a pause before you speak. You tend to try to read subtext. And even then, 6 years ago, I noticed that even though you were younger than me, you had capacity, right? And I think part of this is because you had to grow up fast. No, I mean you have a story like everyone else,
Yep. I definitely had to grow up fast. I didn't have much of a childhood. Um, I became therapist for my parents, mediator,
right?
um, and so emotionally, and I don't know how unfair this is to say, but I felt like I surpassed, a lot of adults in my life emotionally
Right.
at a very young age,
There was
and
also
which wasn't
trauma,
good.
right? There was also trauma in
Oh,
your
yeah,
like high school and stuff, right?
there was a ton of trauma. Um, yeah, there was a lot that I went through as far as um, I didn't really know how to regulate my emotions until
Yeah.
a lot later in my life. So,
How do you
and
think
even
that?
then,
Oh, sorry. How do you think that the trauma impacted you as far as like your interest in mental health and also, yeah, just kind of how you absorb people, um, all of that. Was trauma? Did trauma play a factor in that, or not so much?
yeah, I would say my trauma definitely. Well, for the longest time, I had triggers and I had a trauma response, and I didn't really realize that my nervous system was completely dysregulated,
Yeah.
especially when it came to um, understanding dysfunction and understanding why I was having responses the way I was. And it wasn't until a breaking point in one of my relationships that I realized I needed to go and seek therapy and not only understand why I was triggered with these responses, but understand, go back to my childhood and actually heal why those developed in the first place.
Mm.
And hopefully re welcome new ways of emotionally regulating.
Were you angry because of the trauma?
I was definitely angry for a time in my life,
Yeah.
especially in my teens. I
Hmm.
fought a lot. I was
Yeah.
physically aggressive, and I was really upset. I was very resentful. I had a lot of black and white thinking. Um, yeah, I was very, I used to do a lot of
Bad
um,
things.
bad things I'm not
Yeah.
proud of.
And you told me once, I'm gonna go fast forward. We'll come back, but we were in Malibu at a diner late at night, and you said, "Yeah, like in high school, I was. You don't know who like kicked girls to the literally to the curb and smashed faces and stuff." And I was like, "Oh," and I think we were like eating fish and chips, and then I was thinking, I wonder why she's sharing this with me, but I could sense that you were once angry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely, yeah, I had a troubled upbringing,
Yeah.
but I had a lot of like, it was weird because I had a lot of a lot of troubles, but then I also had a lot of positive influences. I knew what a very dysfunctional relationship looked like, and then I also knew what a very loving and like properly cared for relationship looked like. I had an aunt and uncle that ultimately raised me the way that they did
Hmm.
in during times of day, and then I would go home to my parents, and that's when the dysfunction would really set in and be. So I grew up having these two experiences, and so ultimately, um, with that kind of influence and getting to a certain age where I could kind of pick, like I didn't have to be angry anymore.
Right.
I could have I chose the influence ultimately that was good and that did, but that was a light. It wasn't dark. And so yeah, I had to emotionally develop to an age where I could finally make a choice.
So we're at my place. I think this was the first encounter. Do you remember what happened?
The first encounter.
Oh, this is
Um,
hurtful. You don't remember. You don't remember any of this. Alana, three
I,
times. We're talking about the first time. I
I
think it was at
thought
my place.
I totally thought it was at the Airbnb, the
Okay,
second
so
one.
maybe it was there. Okay. Um, Tell me through your lens what happened, or tell us.
So we went back to your Airbnb, and so I remember being sensual, and I remember you caressing me in ways, and I was listening to them, and the music was kind of vibing with the way our connection was playing out. You made me feel good. You made me feel safe. You didn't rush it.
Hmm.
You always like checked up on me, asked me, you know, how I was doing, how our connection was playing out. Um, the both of us were very like insightful and transparent with the way that we spoke. Um,
I
yeah,
kissed you on
I
the
felt,
back of the ear, and it gave you chills. We weren't intimate. We weren't. It was very, kind of an innocent, just a one type thing. But I think that was a good sign for you. Like I think it was just a kiss in the back of the ear, and I think because you stated like, oh, that I like that, or it felt good, or something, gave you something, and then that's all we did. And then the next time we met, um,
well, no, I remember that you like felt, you were like feeling my body with your
oh, okay.
fingers.
But we
I
had clothes
remember,
on. It wasn't like we didn't try to
oh
do
yeah,
anything. I remember. Yeah. Yeah.
the first night we didn't do anything physical.
Right.
The second time that we met up, that's when things kind of escalated.
Yeah. And what happened?
um, so when things escalated in that way, we attempted intercourse,
Yeah.
and you couldn't stay up.
So let me ask you this: um, how did that make you feel? Because I think for me, I didn't even think about how that would make you feel. I um, internalized it. I felt insecure. Well, the first time it wasn't that big of a deal. It was just like, okay, whatever. This isn't normal, but it's whatever. It's not a big deal. But I didn't ask you how you felt. I
Mm-hmm.
felt like, okay, now I have to perform or do whatever. I made it about me, basically.
Right. And I could feel, so the biggest thing that came off for me was that energy. All of
Yeah.
a sudden, like this very confident, like masculine man started to draw back from me.
Mm.
and didn't, and it's almost like you lost confidence in our connection because you were losing confidence in yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's how I started to slowly but surely back away. It didn't make me feel safe anymore.
Mm. And
Um,
so I took you backing away as so this happened two more times, and I took you backing away as because we were young and you weren't that communicative as yeah like you can't do this, so I'm not into you, like I'm not attracted to you because of that. And so that made me more insecure, and then so the first time it didn't work. Second time, it's almost like I came to San Diego now like mission driven, right? Which is not the approach, right? And also pressure on myself, and of course it would probably make you feel more like an object, right? And
right.
of course, because of that, it was worse. It didn't work. And I remember being frustrated, and oh my God. And I remember like trying to convince you that this isn't normal and all this.
Mhm.
And then the third time, and this is where it gets bad, the third time, now it is strictly about me. Now you're not even in the picture. Now it's about me and my quote unquote manhood. It's about me trying to prove something. It's about all of that. And I also think because um, we met on Instagram and social media, and you've been following my work. I always feel insecure when I meet people, whether it's strangers, whoever on social media, because I feel like they're going to be disappointed. Like I feel like I'm not going to hold up. And
Well,
so
there's two images of you. There's the one that's constantly performing and building uh, a following on Instagram, and there's that John Kim, and then there's the real John Kim, the soft-hearted, who you are at your core, and who you are going to be face to face with a person. And I saw who you were as John Kim on Instagram, but I wasn't expecting that to be parallel with who you were. I love the
mm,
message that you were sending to people,
right,
but I wanted to get to know you for who you were at your core. That's what I
yeah,
was interested in. And that's why I started to draw back, because I felt like you were trying to make those so parallel. You were trying to prove to me that John Kim
right,
is the person that I see on Instagram.
right. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I think I was doing that unconsciously, and also, yeah, absolutely. And so, for me, um, it was about trying to uh, put on a cape or walk in the shoes or the way that I guess portray myself on social media and hold
Yeah.
up to that guy. And for you, you didn't want that. You just wanted to get to know me. And so there was the disconnect. And then, of course, we didn't communicate. And so I thought you weren't into me because I couldn't get it up. And then you just kind of went dark. And I remember you saying, yeah, the I think you said the intimacy or sex is really important to me right now. And I know you're coming
Yes.
off a relationship, but you didn't expand on that. And so I took it as you were just looking for, um, um, I don't know how to say it. You were just looking for, um, you know, not intimacy, but skin. You were looking for um,
I think what I was
porn
looking
star.
for was no. I was open to a connection. I've never not been open to a connection because I've always been a firm believer in that you can heal still with new connections.
Yeah.
And I was very focused on myself, but I did know that at the time, because of my previous relationship, having such a like an intimacy disconnect and having sex be so far on the back burner,
Mm.
that I did know that in my new relationship that was very important to me, and I did want it. Like it was at the forefront
Yes.
because it was just something that was not present in my previous relationship.
Yeah, and so maybe I wasn't listening, but if you had explained it like that, because what you're saying was no, it wasn't. Even though I wanted sex is important to me, but it wasn't about the sex. It was about connection and intimacy that I've been thirsty for, and that's important to me.
Right. And
But what I
also,
heard was what's that?
I mean, I said, go ahead, you first.
And so what I heard was, John, you had three at bats and you couldn't swing, so I'm not into you. And so, and so I was
No,
like, oh,
so I get that, but the reason why they started de-escalating further and further and further the rest of the 3 times that we met up is because you made that performance and the performance factor so much of who you were. And
Mm,
also, like, we're still so early in how we were meeting and what we were doing.
yeah.
And it just, it was an elephant in the room constantly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're just the way that you presented yourself, and our conversations, it felt like you put in comedy, like you would always bring it up and it would be like
Hmm.
comedic factor to you to like constantly talk about. And I just wanted to move past it. I wanted
Did
to,
I bring it up a lot? I guess I did. I don't remember. Oh man.
when we were in Malibu, I remember you brought it up a lot at, we went to a couple restaurants in Malibu. I think we went to dinner before the Airbnb
Hmm.
experience
Hmm.
party. You brought it up there, and I remember you brought it up again. We had a little like somewhat weird connection at the Malibu
Yeah, you were on the
Airbnb.
back of my bike and we hung out.
Yes,
There was
and
a
then
moment. There was a moment, and again, this is I don't know what part of me there. This is probably the insecure part of me that wanted to prove something, but also, it wasn't like there was chemistry and there was still um,
totally.
yeah, and it was still fresh, and so there was a moment at that party where I was like, should I start making out with her in the bathroom? Would
Yeah,
that be inappropriate? And I was like, I, and I almost did it, but I was like, and it felt very like I don't I don't think I even did I kiss you? I don't remember, but I remember having that thought, and there was something that stopped me. One, I wasn't sure where you were at, but then I was like, it's a big house, people are downstairs. This could be the whatever the making up for or me
yeah,
proving to myself, and I don't know what would have happened, but I had that thought. I remember.
hmm, yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember feeling it in that moment, like it was a big. I didn't want it. Like in that
Oh,
moment,
thank
I
God I
didn't
didn't
want
do
it.
anything. Thank God I didn't. Oh shit. Okay.
But
Well.
mostly because I just felt like it wasn't a natural, like it
Yeah.
felt contrived from you. It didn't feel
Hmm.
natural and safe and warm. It was a colder temperature.
Yes, and also, how would that make you feel, right? So let's say we went in the bathroom and let's say things were great, and then so for me it would have been like, oh, I finally proved this to myself. For you, it
Right.
probably would have felt empty, like,
And then
oh,
I would, yeah. And I could sense that. Like I
yeah,
think my intuitive response was, I think this person is sincerely just trying to prove something, not even to you, but to himself. And
sure,
afterwards, it's like a one night stand, just like a guy who's trying to, coerce a woman into
yeah,
bed. Not saying that this is in any way comparative to that. I mean, it is a little bit, but in the very most like minute semblance, it's just kind of like, what's going to happen after? I'm going to be left feeling empty
right,
because he proved it to himself. He's not proving it to me.
right. There was also, I think we were also in a different part of our kind of singlehood journey. So you were coming out of a long relationship, and you were, redefining love and what you want, and
Right.
I was in this weird space of like, because I've only been in relationships, I wanted debauchery. And I think you probably felt that too. So it wasn't just that I couldn't perform, but like I was kind of interested in. I've never had a one night stand. I never woke up with someone I didn't like. I never tried, psychedelics and drugs. Like I've never. My high school was very 50s and clean and football games and cheerleading. It wasn't like crazy parties and stuff. And so I think there was a part of me at that point in my life where because I was single, I was like, oh, I'm gonna sow my oats. I'm gonna go. I've never had a threesome. Like I was interested in things that were kind of like dangerous and not dangerous, but a little bit more experimental. And so,
I think, well, that's where we both bonded because I also was coming out of just a series of monogamous relationships. I still to
mm,
this day have never had a one night stand.
mm-hmm.
So I think we actually walked a common ground on that. And that's kind of what
Oh,
was
okay.
looking at. And I think we both were seeking that, but maybe, I don't know we still
Well,
connected.
you didn't want just that though. You wanted that with you wanted a lease with an option to buy, right? You wanted
Yes.
potential. You didn't just want a one night stand because you could get that anywhere. You wanted um, potential. You wanted exploration, and sure, if that came with intimacy and sex, great. But you also wanted um, to uncover something if something was
So
there, right?
at that time when we were dating, you only wanted a one night stand from me.
Not only no, not from you. No, I was in. Oh my god, I was interested and I was
I'm like
curious.
trying to understand what you're
No, no.
saying.
I was interested and curious and open to other things, but um, I was at that point, and I think you and I think I dated a couple other people after you, but very short lived, little adventures, and I
Yeah,
was interested in, yeah, putting myself out there and giving myself experiences that I haven't, because I just was in relationships most of my life, you know? And I
yeah,
remember when I met Vanessa, she was telling me about her 20s and she was a bartender and all these amazing stories. I remember feeling like, fuck, I wish I experienced that. Fuck, I wish I
totally,
experienced that, you know? And so
totally.
yeah, there was a little bit of that. But, I am into monogamy and loving one person. And I was also open to anything that would happen that was deeper. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Obviously, there was a lot of communication that either we had and I forgot, or we didn't have.
Yeah.
And I know that we, after reconnecting and discussing our collision and revisiting it, like there's so many misconnections. And I
Yes.
think, but the biggest one, the biggest highlight is that, yeah, there was a. So the one thing I've been wanting to tell you, and I think I told you, but at the time I couldn't tell you,
Mm-hmm.
but telling you that it wasn't about how the size of your dick. It was how you felt about the size of your dick, and that
Mm,
whole relationship that you had,
yeah.
and the way
Yeah.
that you turned it into like a joke, or you turned it into, you were lightening the mood, but deep down you could see that like that was something that you struggled with. And and honestly, if you were to say like, man, I love my dick, I don't care what it looks like, I'm proud of it, I love it, it's a part of who I am, I would have fallen. Like that kind of like confidence, that kind of like, I don't
Sure.
care what you think about it, it's the way I feel about it. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about that.
You didn't say any of this to me, Alana.
I know,
You
I
gave me a,
know.
you know what you did? You know what you did? You gave me a playlist, a really good playlist. I still have it. And uh,
I
you,
can add to it. I
you gave
love
me a,
that playlist.
you gave me a playlist and sent me on my way.
I
Had
did.
you said, John, listen, relax, look me in the eyes. Let me tell you something, John. Um, your penis, whether you could get it up, not up, the size, or whatever, the shape, that's on you. And I would like it if you can work through that and feel more confident and comfortable, because you feeling uncomfortable about it is making me uncomfortable. Like if you gave me some direction, I would be like, oh, okay, I'm making it about the wrong thing. It would kind of like snap me out of it. We never had that conversation, so we started to fill in a lot of blanks, and I thought,
Totally.
yeah, but I also feel like uh, whether we're dating or it becomes a relationship, I believe there's value in every exchange, human exchange,
Totally.
and so like it was a huge lesson for me, and it was something to um, process, to talk about. And I also put it in my single purpose book because I feel like it's something that men don't talk about, the
Mhm.
shame behind it and all of that. So I used, I always use my stories as examples. Um,
Yeah.
I also don't know how you feel about me putting it, even though it's told through my lens, me putting that, because I didn't obviously say your name or anything.
Right.
Did you have feelings about that?
Obviously, to be honest,
I think I
the
just called
reason
you San Diego girl or something. I mean, something very
you did,
generic. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, you mentioned me in a couple of podcasts, and
Mm,
um, no, it's your story, and our collision clearly, it also, you have to also understand that it had an impact on me, and because I was at the age that I was back
hmm.
then, I didn't know how to put into words that I felt were safe for you to hear. Like,
Oh,
you were a lot older than me, and I was very young, and I was pretty intimidated about what I had to say to you because I didn't know the reaction that I was going to get. I
Oh,
also came from
interesting.
I also came from a very traumatized household, so I
Right.
wasn't sure how to voice. I didn't know how to
Yes, I sense that a
explain.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
What
So
what did you want to say to me that you were scared to?
I wanted to say what I just told you, that
Yeah.
it was about your relationship with your
Right.
penis.
Right.
Um, it wasn't, and so back then, the age that I was, it just wasn't grown or developed into the person that I am now to be able to say that.
Mm.
And I was afraid of saying the wrong thing. I was really afraid of you hating me, even though, and I just, you were, how do I say this?
I unfollowed you and you were so mad. I think you were
That's
more.
right.
I think you were
You
so
also
mad. You
told
were more
me,
mad that I unfollowed you than anything else. So yeah.
no, also, you know what really got to me was
Mm.
you said, I remember you saying, Alana, our time was super short lived. It really wasn't that important of a relationship.
I said that.
Yeah, you said I didn't love you. I didn't fall in love with you. So
I
clearly
did not
this,
say that.
I
Did I really?
swear to you said that.
Why would I say that?
You said that to me at dinner. You said that to me at dinner when I was driving home from Northern California and we met up. We had a dinner. It was just dinner. We didn't go to each other. I didn't go to your house or anything, but we met at the restaurant. And yeah, you said that to me. And I was like, wow, okay. Like,
I don't know why
that's,
I would be unkind like that. I don't know why I would say that.
I don't know
It sounds like a
either.
reaction.
But I was trying, I sincerely, like, I do remember that because that's
Mm.
what, there's very few things, and maybe this is why I shut so much of our collision out,
Yeah.
was because there was a few things that really did affect me. And that I remember you saying it was short lived, it's not that important. And that hurt.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's,
I don't.
I mean, I'm so,
I don't remember saying that, and I wonder where that came from. But if that's what I said, then that's what I said. It must. I don't know why. Yeah, it must have come from my own because it sounds like a reaction. It sounds like me reacting to something,
and you
trying to
said
hurt
it
you.
fast. I think you were saying it fast too. And I remember just being like,
Mm.
okay. Um, I tried not to hold on to it, but that was one of the things that I actually did hold on to, and that's probably why I shut so much of the rest of it out.
You know what's interesting is when I hurt you with those words, you you didn't show it at all. It was almost like boom, shield goes up,
Yep.
or you suppressed, right? Or I had no idea. Like if you said, "Dude, that's fucked up," that hurt me. I would have then been like, "Oh wait, that's not what I'm," or whatever. I would have explained. But I don't remember it because you didn't show any expression that actually impacted you in any way.
I have a tendency to do that.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Um,
probably more so when you're younger, but yeah.
yes, I mean now I will 100% vocalize the way that I
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
and the way that I feel in response to something. Back then, it was always take it, hold it,
Mm.
and then shut it.
You know what's interesting? I don't know about you, but I'm having this revelation of because we see the world through our own eyes, that whole experience, things like this, moments like this that I missed because uh, the combination of you not expressing and the combination of me being in my own head and not being intuitive, right? Not scanning. And
Mhm.
so I'll bet you if I went back and saw it through my lens now, which is more neutral and not attached to a penis, uh, it would probably be a whole different. I would probably have so like if I went back, like time travel, went back and watched it from um, outside of body experience. I would have probably had so much more insight about myself and what I than how I play back in my head. I bet you it's so different.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
totally agree.
yeah.
It was a pivotal point for both of our lives. We were obviously, and I think we discussed this when we first started chatting. Was I was looking for something different. I was clearly in a really hard relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you were coming out of monogamy and a career transition. You were really diving into your psychology at that point, and just kind of, and I remember also discussing like you wanting to be an actor and
What?
that.
I
or
did.
coming
I
up
was a screenwriter. I was a screenwriter. Yeah,
screenwriter.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
remember.
Now you're talking about the
No,
wrong. Now I'm like, what?
no, I
Yes.
remember
Yeah.
you saying that you got asked to do something with HBO, and that you were going to be the star of it.
Oh, they yeah, but as a they optioned my story, and I was a screenwriter on it. I wasn't going to play me. That would never happen.
Oh,
They would have
okay.
another Asian dude playing me. But yes, as a screenwriter, not as an actor. But anyway, go ahead.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
What else did I want to tell you? At that time, so another thing I wanted to tell you was yeah, my voice. I didn't have the voice to tell you
Yeah.
back then.
Yeah.
There was also something else I wanted to like come back and circle back that to that about. Oh, the whole ghosting. So
Mm.
when ghosting you, I remember you having words with me ghosting you,
Yeah.
and because I didn't know, and I didn't seek help or ask how to discontinue conversations with you, or how to make
Well, you never said
the conversation.
goodbye. It was just very strange. You just disappeared. And so, again, so I was like, okay, which is cool. But then it's like, she didn't say anything. So I just blame myself, right? Or my inability.
Disappearing felt safer than having a conversation with you.
But what? But okay, so let me ask you this. This is really interesting. I want to know the kind of energy I give off. Um, why was it unsafe to have a conversation? Because you weren't afraid of me. You weren't like physically afraid of me or anything like that, right? No. Yeah.
No,
So
I was
why?
not afraid of you.
What was
Physically, no.
unsafe?
Emotionally, yes.
Did you think I was gonna like yell or like what
No,
or assassinate your character? What were you afraid of? If you were gonna have
I
a
think
blunt
I was
conversation?
also I think I was also afraid of being rejected. And when you did tell
Mm,
me that our relationship was small, that's when I actually think that we had already had a pause at that point, and then you told me that, and leading up to that, that's what I was the most afraid of. I was afraid of becoming unimportant,
it's like getting
and
into a fight
that's
and
within.
what's that?
I said that's on me. That was me, like that was me not giving that validation and safety to myself.
Hmm.
I should have been stronger in the way that I should have just told you, and instead of just telling you, I went dark
Yes.
because I was afraid of rejection as well.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting is so when someone goes dark, I think it's easy to judge, right? So I took it as not only rejection, but I took it personally as you didn't want to be with me because of um, performance or whatever. And so I was mad about that. Uh, but now that I hear what was going on inside you, it wasn't about that. It was about also your own fears and also your fear of rejection, which I never thought was a fear for you because I felt rejected um, because you went dark, not me, right? And it's just interesting when you go, and this is the value of this and why I wanted to do this. When you go back and you have two people who are now willing to communicate, you see things with more clarity and understanding, which a lot of people, they don't have closure because they don't get to have this kind of conversation. They don't get to revisit. They only revisit in their own head, right? So when
Totally.
you said these things to me, I didn't know. I don't remember saying those things, but I'm sure it happened because you said it. So now that dinner is different because I can't. I said something. I hurt you that. I didn't know I hurt you that night. You know.
Yep.
I remember because I'm fast. I think because I'm just high strung. I was walking in front of you when we left, and you're like, "You're treating me like a Tinder date" or something. You said, and I was like,
Yeah.
I remember that. And so, but I think that's what came out of your mouth. But if you dig deeper, you were just hurt an hour ago. But you almost said it kind of in a joking way, so I didn't think you were serious. But there was
Well, I
something
was also
that
just trying to make light of the situation because
yeah,
clearly I was hurt on the inside, and I was in return also trying to make light of the situation.
yeah,
It's just, there's an ebb and flow to conversations and connection. And as much as I wanted to hold on to some aspect, in some respect, some regard to our connection and our collision. You were somebody that I learned a lot from. You were somebody that I honestly, there was a lot of potential.
Sure.
And
Sure.
call it bad timing, call it
Yeah. Whatever.
dysregulation on my part, call
Mm-hmm.
it, we were both transitioning out of interesting times in our previous relationships and relationships to ourselves. And we were about to embark on two very, very different journeys. I know that after we met, you went on a amazing spiritual journey, and I went on mine.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was weird. It was definitely weird, in the best possible way. We were both like open, and I think that's why we did connect. But there was certain things that made us disconnect at the same time because we were
Yeah.
not healed.
Yeah, and I just it wasn't meant, and it was like I think we were forcing something um, that wasn't meant at the time, and the result
Right.
was that, right? People not communicating, people hurting each other, things not going up, right? So I now look back and I feel like my body was, it wasn't that I wasn't attracted to you because I was, but I felt like my body was either telling me to stop, to slow down, was giving me signs, but I wasn't listening. I was just like logically trying to like get excited and it's time for this to happen. And I didn't listen to
Right.
my body, right? So when your body is calm and relaxed, things happen naturally, right? There must have been tension in my own body and resistance. Um, that caused that to happen because that's not that I never had that before. So if I had that before, that would just be a normal thing, and I probably would have had pills and all that. But I didn't, and so for me, I wasn't listening to my body. I wasn't listening. I was trying to force things because they were logical or this is what we do, you know.
Yeah.
So that was a
I
good
could see
learning
that.
lesson for me is to listen more to my body.
It was a really good learning lesson for me as well because I couldn't even make the words of why I was. I remember feeling things, but I couldn't put words to them. I couldn't like,
Mm,
what is it about this that is making me retract? I couldn't like, I couldn't say it. And I remember it wasn't until I was listening to that podcast that you sent me because you called me San Diego girl, um, and you sent it to me, and I remember liking it. I don't even think I had a response to you, but I remember listening to it with a friend, and it went on like a light. It's like this is why. This is why. So I didn't even come to terms with it until later.
wait,
That is
was I
what.
disrespectful in that episode or no?
I don't think so.
Okay,
No,
right, okay.
no, not at all.
Right, but
I'm
that
not saying that you.
activated something and gave you a revelation.
So that's why I think our collision is super important because it, as much as it was a learning experience for you, is also a way for me to find my voice and
Mm-hmm.
understand maybe why I feel things. And that's when I started to pay really close attention to how certain things made me feel and putting definitions to them.
Yeah,
And when you put definitions to the way you feel, then you really start to build your voice.
I love, and this is maybe where we could end because I think this is gold. Your takeaway, what I'm hearing is your takeaway from this was to speak up, to say what you feel, and not leave people in the dark. Not just for the other person, but for
100%.
yourself, right? So that was a huge, and it was, and so like I don't know, me being some kind of mirror or catalyst in your life for you to have that revelation, and then I think for me, my revelation was to listen to my body, the obvious one to not make it about my dick, right? Um,
Yeah.
to have confidence with that old residue and something that I may need to work on, um, in that it's still there, and like that the insecurities and all that. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and also in this episode, I'm learning, which is really powerful, that I think we block things out. I think we um, replay things and pick what we want to replay. It's kind of shocking to me that I said something I totally don't remember. And it's not like I was drunk; we were just having dinner, right? And so that's a good. It's a great lesson in that maybe what happened um, wasn't what you think happened. Maybe there was more. maybe you didn't listen, maybe you didn't the way that you saw it could have been distorted.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah.
definitely know there was some things that you remember about our collision
Mm-hmm.
that I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe I blocked out or but there I definitely know that there were some things that I held on to.
Yeah.
And obviously the biggest one was already said. And definitely that little moment, that's when things went really dark, and that's the reason why I ghosted.
Yeah. And the gift in you coming back, at least on a podcast or social or whatever, is this is helpful for me. I don't know about for you, but it's helpful in that. And I'm not a big fan of the word closure, but I like that. I think it's a gift that I get to have another conversation with you and see things that I didn't see. Apologize for being mean or cruel, and
I don't
just
even
to
think
know
that it
that.
was that you were cruel. I think that you were
Yeah,
just in a way protecting yourself. I
sure.
don't see it as you being mean. I
Yeah.
see it as a way of protecting yourself, and I always kind of saw it that way. But for our connection, it was hurtful.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
but I never held any disdain or resentment towards you. I think we
Well,
even still.
you wouldn't be here if you did.
I know,
you know, I also think I value this because although we didn't have a relationship, um, all when I think about all my exes, I think most of them have a lot of anger and resentment. And in the short time that we spent, there were things that I didn't even realize that I did or said. I mean, could you imagine being with someone for 3 years and all the stuff that I said that I don't remember, or the how I treated someone or how I steamrolled someone that I'm not even aware of, and that people are
right.
holding a lot of resentment. So yeah, when I think about my exes, I mean, none of them would be. I wouldn't even. They don't even talk to me, and so yeah, a lot of it is people still very mad and hurt, and I can't do anything about that. So I appreciate you coming on here and at least having a conversation.
Of course.
Yeah.
I'm really glad we got to do this. This is definitely something, and this is just, imagine if we got to do this with all of our exes. Imagine if we got to
Yeah.
have these
Yeah.
conversations. I would definitely feel much better as a person, but instead we have to find ways to give
Avoid.
ourselves
Yeah.
avoid or give ourselves closure or whatever
Sure.
validation we're still seeking from our exes. We need
Yeah.
to somehow fulfill ourselves with that validation. And so it's hard because you want so badly to rectify and um, close and have it be a good, like, closing of a book,
Yeah.
close chapter, but you kind of can't. You have to let it go. But this is really, I really loved when you proposed that we do this. I really loved the message that it holds, and it's kind of cool because I don't think that a lot of people do this. Like
What
you
do you
said,
think?
you
What do you think the title should be? Because I don't want to call you San Diego Girl anymore. I think that was appropriate when you were anonymous. Now that you are in fact a real human being with feelings and opinions, what should the title of this be? I also want to make you a promise, and also to myself because I'm sick of it. The whole story about the can't like that's I'm over it. It's like this is the closing of that where I don't really feel like it's important to talk about it anymore, right? So, what would the title of this be? What do
oh
you
man,
want it to be, and
I
I'm
want
gonna
it
make
to
it.
be a strong message because I feel like when two people collide the way that we did, this is like something that they wish they could do.
Mm-hmm, sure.
Um,
Yeah, like the take, or I mean, not even the take two, just more of a touching base, a checking in. Um, Thank you for the lessons. I don't hate you, kind of thing.
yeah. I don't know, something like six, bringing someone back and bringing a conversation with someone that I had sex with 6 years ago and why it didn't work out. I don't know. It's got to be catchy. It's got to be like,
A
this is something.
conversation with someone I almost. Oh, here we go. A conversation with someone I almost had sex with. That's catchy. Not someone because we did. I mean, technically, we kind of did because in the
Technically, we
beginning,
did.
Yeah, I did. I mean, it was kind of a half, like okay, but not to get too TMI, but um,
It was penetrated.
what's that?
You penetrated. It happened. It just didn't
Yes,
happen
it
for very
technically
long.
did, and then but it didn't like it. It was only okay. So someone I almost had sex with 6 years ago. Yeah, a conversation with someone I almost had sex with 6 years ago.
I
I
think
like it.
that's
I like
catchy.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being on my podcast, and
Of
now everyone gets
course.
to see your
Thank
face. And
you.
also, hey, congratulations on your new chapter on your passion for mental health. You going back to
Thank
school
you.
and everything that you're doing. I think it's really exciting.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep. Aspiring. Want to be a licensed marriage and family therapist.
Yeah.
And I just want to open up to that whole world of navigating relationships, love, thoughts, feelings, why people connect, why they
Yeah.
disconnect, and navigating their way back to it.
Great. You could use the story.
I know.
All right.
Maybe
So
I'll write a book.
yes, you should.
Call you what?
Payback.
Los Angeles boy,
um,
Los Feliz boy. Yeah, that's where you were living at the time.
thank you for being on my podcast. And so here's what I do. So you leave, and then for about 10 minutes, I talk shit about you. No, I don't talk shit. For about 10 minutes, what I do is um, I
Debrief.
I debrief. I talk about how I felt about this conversation, my revelations, and a lot of people do intros. I kind of do this outro to
Okay.
be different.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
Well,
um, keep in touch, and thank you so much for doing this.
of course.
All right. Be
Thank
well.
you so much for the invitation. Good luck on your debrief. I hope it's a good one.
Yeah. I hope you hear it. I hope you listen to it in the car. All right. Be
Bye,
well.
Jeff. Thank you.
Mhm. I wanted to say before I forget, thank you to both our partners because I ran this by Vanessa and she's like, yeah, go ahead. She was totally cool with it. Vanessa, by the way, is one of the most uh, unjealous. Is that a word? Not jealous person that I've ever been with, almost to a fault. Sometimes I kind of wish she was a little jealous, but that's a different conversation. And also, I don't know Alana's boyfriend, but of course he was cool with it as well. And I think that's telling. I think that not only is it rare that people that you have dated or have been intimate, or in my case, tried to be intimate with, um, that you get to have this conversation, but also if you're with someone new, your partner giving you that space, your partner not making it about him or her, I think is telling of their security and their trust in the relationship, which is also rare, right? I mean, would you allow your partner to do a podcast with his ex or her ex? Or if it's not an ex, because we didn't, there wasn't a relationship, but someone that he had dated or she had dated. And if the answer is no, um, challenge yourself to look at that and why and where that's coming from. Anyway, one of the revelations I had during this, and I actually talked about it in the episode, is holy shit, I didn't know that I said things to her that she remembers. I didn't know that I hurt her. And I feel bad about it. I wish that she had the ability to tell me that I hurt her so I could express and apologize in that moment instead of 6 years later. And I also, what I loved about this conversation was because, we only see things through our own eyes. I was putting weight on things that I thought mattered to her and they didn't matter. What mattered to her was my own security and relationship with self. And I think that's kind of the big takeaway with me. And because it's topical just in general, my own relationship with self and how important that is. And that's what mattered to her, not the fact that I couldn't get it up. Anyway, Alana, thank you for being on my podcast. And this is such a great ending to that whole chapter. And yeah, I'm kind of done with that story. I feel like I've really stretched it, but I felt like it was a good story to talk about, put in my book, because I think other people have, dealt with this as well. Thank you for listening. Be well.